The Galactic Consortium had watched Earth for 300 years before they made first contact. They had seen everything. They saw the wars that humans fought against each other. They saw how humans never gave up, even when everything seemed lost. They saw how creative humans could be when it came to fighting. The Consortium had files on every major battle in human history. They thought they understood what humans were. They were wrong. When the HFY Empire sent their fleet to take the human colony on Kepler 442b, the Consortium expected humanity to do what every other young species had done. They expected humans to surrender. After all, the HFY had conquered hundreds of worlds. No one had ever stopped them. No one had even tried. Captain Samuel Grant stood on the bridge of his ship, the Relentless. He was 42 years old, with gray hair at his temples and calm blue eyes that had seen too many battles. The ship was a standard military cruiser, nothing special. It had good weapons and decent shields, but it was just one ship. The HFY had 27. "Captain, they are coming out of hyperspace," said Lieutenant Maya Torres. She sat at the communications station, her dark hair pulled back in a tight bun. Her hands moved across her controls with practiced speed, but Grant could see the tension in her shoulders. The view screen filled with enemy ships. They were massive things, each one 5 times the size of the Relentless. Their hulls were dark gray and covered with weapons. The biggest ship, the flagship, had a symbol painted on its side. A claw crushing a planet. The mark of the HFY Empire. "How many people do we have on the surface?" Grant asked. 2,000, sir," said Navigator Daniel Park. He was young, barely 25, and this was his first real posting. "Men, women, and children. The colony has been here for 3 years." Grant nodded slowly. 2,000 people. Families. Children learning to walk on an alien world. Old people who had traveled across the stars to see something new before they died. All of them were counting on him. "They are hailing us," Torres said. "Put them through." The screen changed to show a HFY commander. His face was covered in gray scales that shifted color slightly as he spoke. His eyes were yellow with black slits for pupils. When he smiled, Grant could see rows of sharp teeth. "Human vessel," the HFY said. "I am Commander Kethvarn of the HFY Empire. You have entered our territory. Your colony sits on a world that belongs to us. You will surrender your ship and your people. They will serve the Empire." Grant looked around his bridge. He saw Torres at communications, Park at navigation. Weapons Officer Corey Phillips, a big man with steady hands, sat ready at his station. Chief Engineer Lisa Howard watched from the doorway, her arms crossed. They were all looking at him, waiting. Grant turned back to the screen. "I am Captain Samuel Grant of the Earth Defense Force, and I am afraid I cannot do that." The HFY commander's scales shifted to a darker shade. The translator built into the communication system struggled for a moment. Grant realized that the alien was confused. Truly confused. "You do not understand," Kethvarn said slowly. "This is not a discussion. You have one ship. I have 27. Your colony has no weapons, no defenses. You cannot win. Surrender is the only logical choice." "We have a saying on Earth," Grant replied. "When the only choice is surrender or fight, we fight. Then you will die. Maybe. But we will take a lot of you with us." Kethvarn leaned forward. His yellow eyes narrowed. "You are either very brave or very stupid. Perhaps both. I will give you 1 hour to change your mind. After that, we will destroy your ship and take your people anyway." The screen went black. The bridge was silent. Phillips was the first to speak. "Captain, with respect, what the hell are we going to do?" Grant walked to the center of the bridge. He put his hands behind his back and looked at each of his crew members in turn. "We are going to do what humans have always done when the odds are against us. We are going to cheat. He turned to Torres. Send a message to Earth Command. Priority 1. Tell them we need immediate assistance. Sir, the nearest fleet is 40 light-years away. They cannot reach us in time. I am not calling for a fleet, Lieutenant. I am calling for something else. Grant paused. Use code word Prometheus. Tell them we need the special forces. The reaction was immediate. Park's face went pale. Phillips actually smiled. Howard uncrossed her arms and stood up straighter. Torres hesitated. Sir, are you sure? The special forces are only called for extreme situations. Lieutenant, we have 27 enemy warships in orbit, 2,000 civilians on the ground, and 1 hour before they start shooting. If this is not extreme, I do not know what is. Torres nodded and turned to her console. Her fingers moved quickly as she composed the message. On the Vorathi flagship, Commander Kethvarn returned to his command chair. His intelligence officer, a small Vorathi named Senthral, approached with a datapad. Commander, we intercepted the human transmission. What did they say? They have requested something called Special Forces. The message used a code word we have not seen before. Prometheus. Kethvarn waved his clawed hand dismissively. It does not matter. No reinforcements can reach them in time. Even if they could, what difference would a few more soldiers make? We have 4,000 warriors ready to land on that colony. Senthral did not move. His scales had gone pale, almost white. Commander, I searched our files for information on human special forces. And? Commander, I think we should withdraw. Kethvarn turned sharply. What did you say? The files, Commander. They are not complete. Much of the information is classified, even from the consortium databases. But what we do have is very troubling. Show me. Senthral handed over the datapad. Kethvarn began to read. At first, his expression was dismissive, then curious, then something else, something that looked almost like fear. This cannot be real, he said. These numbers are impossible. No biological creature can do these things. The files say they are not entirely biological anymore, Commander. The humans modify them, enhance them, make them into something more than human. Kethvarn looked at the datapad for a long moment. Then he threw it across the room. I do not care what they are. We are Vorathi. We have conquered 1,000 worlds. We do not run from anyone. Yes, Commander. But Senthral kept his scales pale. He had read the files more carefully than his commander. He had seen the reports from other species who had faced human special forces. The few survivors always said the same thing. They moved like shadows. They struck like lightning. And they showed no mercy. On the planet below, the colonists were being moved to safety. The mining tunnels beneath the main settlement were deep and strong. They could hold everyone, if necessary. Children clutched their favorite toys as their parents led them underground. Old people helped each other walk. Everyone was scared, but no one panicked. They were human. They had been scared before. They had survived before. They would survive again. And somewhere, 40 light years away, 6 soldiers received a message. They stopped what they were doing. They read the message carefully. Then they began to prepare. Help was coming. The Vorathi just did not know it yet. 40 light years from the battle, there was a moon called Titan. It circled the planet Saturn, and its surface was covered in frozen lakes of methane. The air was poison. The temperature was cold enough to freeze a person solid in seconds. Nothing could live there. At least. Nothing normal. Deep beneath the frozen surface. There was a building that did not exist on any map. It had no name. It had no official records. If you asked the government about it, they would say they had never heard of it. But it was real, and inside it lived the most dangerous humans ever created. Sergeant. First Class Connor Bailey was at the bottom of a tank filled with liquid nitrogen. The liquid was so cold that it would kill a normal person instantly. Connor had been down there for 20 minutes. He was holding his breath. His heart was beating once every 30 seconds. His body temperature had dropped to match the liquid around him. He was not uncomfortable. The modifications had fixed that. A voice spoke in his head. It came from a small computer chip implanted behind his ear. Briefing room. Now, priority 1. Connor opened his eyes. The liquid nitrogen did not bother them. He pushed off the bottom of the tank and rose to the surface. When he climbed out, frost formed on his skin. It melted almost immediately as his body temperature shot back up to normal. He was 34 years old, but he looked younger. His body was lean and hard, built for speed and strength. His brown hair was cut short. His gray eyes were calm and steady. There were scars on his arms and chest, but not as many as you would expect from someone who had been in so many battles. The scars healed fast now. Another modification. He walked through the facility, passing other operators who were doing their own training. Staff Sergeant Kate Murphy was in the shooting range. Her eyes had been changed so she could see farther than any normal human. She could hit a target from 2 miles away, in the dark, in a storm. Right now, she was shooting at targets while running on a treadmill set to maximum speed. Corporal Derek Stone was in the weapons room, taking apart alien guns and putting them back together. His hands moved so fast they were hard to follow. He could learn any weapon in minutes. He could fix any machine in seconds. His brain had been modified to process information faster than any computer. Staff Sergeant Nina Garcia sat in a small room filled with screens and wires. Her eyes were closed, but she was not sleeping. She was connected directly to the facility's computer system, her mind floating through data like a fish through water. She could hack into any system in the galaxy. She could find any secret. She could be anywhere information existed. They all stopped what they were doing when they got the message. They all headed for the briefing room. Colonel Patricia Webb was waiting for them. She was 63 years old, and she had been part of the Special Forces program since the beginning. Her left arm was made of metal and plastic, a replacement for the one she had lost in battle 20 years ago. Her right eye glowed faintly with blue light, showing her information that no one else could see. She had trained most of the operators in this room. She had sent them on missions that no one else could do. She had written letters to families when some of them did not come back. But today, she was not thinking about the past. She was thinking about a colony 40 light years away. Kepler 442b, she said. A picture appeared in the air in front of her. A planet covered in blue and green circling a distant star. Human colony. 2,000 people. 3 years old. What is the situation? Connor asked. Varathi. 27 warships in orbit. We have 1 cruiser defending. The Relentless under Captain Grant. The Varathi have given him 1 hour to surrender. He won't, Murphy said. It was not a question. No, he won't. Webb changed the picture. Now it showed the enemy ships. The Varathi will land ground forces. Estimated strength is 4,000 soldiers, 60 armored vehicles, and 12 air support craft. Their orders are to take the colony intact. They want slaves. The room went quiet. Everyone knew what that meant. Human slaves in the Varathi Empire did not live long. They worked until they died. Rules of engagement? Stone asked. Unrestricted. The Galactic Consortium has given us permission to respond with any force necessary. They want to see what humanity can do. Garcia opened her eyes. They want us to send a message. Yes, the Varathi have been pushing against human territory for years. This is their first direct attack. How we respond will decide how every other species in the galaxy treats us for the next 100 years. How many operators? Connor asked. 6. You, Murphy, Stone, Garcia, and 2 more. The door opened. A man walked in, and everyone in the room stood up a little straighter. Even Colonel Webb seemed to pay more attention. Master Sergeant Victor Cole was 51 years old, and he had been in the Special Forces program longer than anyone else still alive. He was the first successful subject of Project Prometheus, the program that had created all of them. His body was more machine than man now. Metal bones, synthetic muscles, a heart that could beat for 1,000 years. He had fought in more battles than anyone could count. He had saved more lives than he could remember. The Varathi had a price on his head that was worth more money than most planets. He never smiled. His eyes were the color of steel and just as warm. I will be the 6th, he said. We leave in 1 hour. Connor nodded. He had worked with Cole before. The man was not friendly. He was not kind. But there was no one better in a fight. What is the plan? Murphy asked. Cole walked to the display and studied it for a moment. Then he started talking. We take a stealth ship. Travel time is 18 hours. The Varathi will land their ground forces about 12 hours after we arrive. Our first target is their command center. We take out their leaders, and their soldiers will lose coordination. And the orbital ships? Stone asked. They have an uplink station on the surface. It controls their orbital weapons. We destroy it, and they lose the ability to bomb the colony from space. What about the colonists? Garcia asked. Captain Grant is moving them to the mining tunnels beneath the colony. They will be safe there until we clear the surface. 4,000 soldiers, Connor said. 6 of us. Cole looked at him. Is that a problem? No, just making sure I understand the math. Good, because we are not going to fight fair. We are going to use every trick, every modification, every piece of training we have. We are going to hit them where they are weak and disappear before they can hit back. We are going to make them afraid. And if they do not become afraid? Murphy asked. Then we kill them all. The room was silent for a moment. Then Connor spoke. When do we leave? Now, get your gear. Pack light. We have a long flight ahead of us. The operators stood and left the room. They moved quickly but without rushing. They had done this many times before. They knew exactly what to bring, what to leave behind, what they would need when they reached the planet. Connor went to his quarters and opened a small locker. Inside was his equipment. A suit made of materials that could change temperature to match his surroundings. Weapons that made no sound and left no trace. Medical supplies that could heal almost any wound. A helmet with displays that would show him things the human eye could never see. He put everything on. It took less than 3 minutes. Then he walked to the hangar where the stealth ship waited. The ship had no name. It was black and angular, designed to slip through sensor networks without being detected. Inside, there were 6 seats and a cockpit controlled by an artificial intelligence named Whisper. The other operators were already there. Murphy was checking her rifle. Stone was reviewing technical data on Varathi equipment. Garcia was interfacing with Whisper, feeding it information about enemy patrol patterns. Cole was standing by the door, watching them with those steel-colored eyes. Everyone ready? He asked. 5 voices answered at once. Yes, then let us go save some colonists. The door closed. The engines powered up, and the ship rose from the hidden hangar, heading for the stars. Behind them, Titan continued its slow orbit around Saturn. The frozen moon kept its secrets. The facility beneath its surface continued its work. And 40 light years away, the Varathi had no idea what was coming for them. The stealth ship moved through space like a ghost. It made no sound. It gave off no heat. Its hull was covered in a special material that absorbed sensor waves instead of reflecting them. To anyone watching, it was invisible. Inside, the 6 operators spent the 18-hour journey preparing. Nina Garcia sat in her seat with her eyes closed. Her mind was connected to the ship's computer, floating through data streams from across the galaxy. She was gathering information about Vorathi forces, their weapons, their tactics, their weaknesses. They rotate their patrols every 40 minutes, she reported. Standard formation. 8 soldiers in each group. They use thermal sensors, but they are calibrated for Vorathi body temperature, not human. Can you adjust our suits? Connor asked. Already done. Your thermal signature will match the local environment. They will not see you unless they look directly at you. Derek Stone was studying technical readouts on his display. Their armor is weak at the joints. The neck, the back of the knees, the inner elbows. One good hit, that will take them down. What about their vehicles? Kate Murphy asked. Standard hover tanks. Fast, but not very strong. The engine compartment is in the back. One explosive charge will destroy them. Victor Cole stood at the front of the cabin, looking at a map of the colony. He had not sat down since they left. He had not eaten or drunk anything. The modifications allowed him to go for days without either. The colonists are in the tunnels, he said. 1,200 meters underground. The Vorathi do not know about them. Captain Grant made sure the entrance was hidden. How long can they hold out? Connor asked. 3 days, maybe 4. There's enough air and water. Food will be the problem. Cole turned to face the team. We need to clear the surface before their supplies run out. 6 of us against 4,000, Murphy said. 3 days. Is that a complaint? No, just planning my schedule. The ship continued its journey through the darkness between stars. The operators slept in shifts, their modified bodies able to function with only a few hours of rest. When they were awake, they trained. They reviewed maps. They practiced hand signals and attack formations. They did not talk about what would happen if they failed. There was no point. They had never failed before. 18 hours after leaving Titan, the ship entered the Kepler 442 system. Garcia immediately connected to local sensor networks, searching for enemy positions. I count 22 Vorathi ships still in orbit, she reported. 5 have moved to patrol the outer system. The colony is on the night side of the planet right now. Perfect for landing. Where are their ground forces? Cole asked. 17 dropships have already landed. They have established a base 3 kilometers north of the colony. Ground troops are spreading out to secure the perimeter. What about the Relentless? Garcia's expression tightened. Still in orbit. Captain Grant has been playing a game of cat and mouse with the Vorathi fleet. He has damaged 2 of their ships, but his own ship has taken heavy fire. He will not last much longer. Then we need to move fast. Cole turned to the artificial intelligence running the ship. Whisper, take us in. Land 3 kilometers south of the enemy base. Understood, Whisper replied. Its voice was calm and neutral, like a machine that did not understand danger. Beginning atmospheric entry in 30 seconds. The ship dropped toward the planet. Its heat shields glowed briefly as it hit the atmosphere, but the cooling systems kicked in almost immediately. From the ground, it would look like a small meteor burning up. Nothing unusual. They landed in a forest of crystal trees. The plants on this world were not like anything on Earth. They were tall and thin, with branches that sparkled in the starlight. The air was cold and thin, but the suits compensated. The operators could breathe without trouble. Connor was first out of the ship. His enhanced senses immediately went to work. He could hear Vorathi soldiers moving 200 meters to the east. He could smell the exhaust from their vehicles half a kilometer away. He could see heat signatures through the trees, bright spots against the cold background. Contact, he said quietly into the team link. "Patrol approaching. 200 meters. "I see them," Murphy replied. Her enhanced eyes could see much farther than his. 8 hostiles. Standard formation. They are not alert. They think they own this planet. "Let us change their mind," Cole said. "Take them quietly. No plasma discharge. We need to stay hidden." The team moved through the forest like shadows. Their suits changed color to match the crystal trees. Their footsteps made no sound on the frozen ground. They spread out, surrounding the patrol without being seen. Connor reached the first Varethi soldier from behind. The alien was tall, almost 2 meters, with thick gray scales and a plasma rifle in his hands. He never knew Connor was there. Connor's hand shot out and touched the base of the alien's skull. A tiny electrical charge disrupted the Varathi's neural implants. The soldier dropped without a sound. Around him, the rest of the team struck at the same moment. Murphy dropped 2 with silent shots from her rifle. Stone's blade cut through 3 more. Garcia used her neural link to shut down the last 2 soldiers' implants remotely. 8 Varathi soldiers. Dead in less than 10 seconds. No noise. No alarm. "Clear," Cole said. They moved on, leaving the bodies where they fell. The Varathi would find them eventually, but by then it would be too late. The enemy base was larger than expected. They had set up a command center, a vehicle depot, a weapons storage, and barracks for the troops. Searchlights swept the perimeter. Guards walked along the fence every few minutes. Hover tanks sat ready to deploy. Garcia interfaced with the base's computer system, slipping past their security like water through a net. "I have their communications," she said. "The ground commander is named Kethras. He is in the main building. He has ordered his troops to begin searching the colony at dawn." "What about the orbital uplink?" Stone asked. "Southeast corner of the base. Heavy guard. At least 40 soldiers. They know it is important." Cole nodded. "We split up. Murphy, Garcia, you are with me. We hit the command center. Bailey, Stone, you take the uplink station." 2 against 40? Stone said. "You have had worse odds." True. They separated, moving in different directions through the darkness. Connor and Stone circled around the base, keeping to the shadows. The crystal forest provided good cover. The Varathi guards looked outward, expecting an attack from outside. They did not think to look up. Connor climbed one of the crystal trees, his modified hands gripping surfaces that should have been too smooth to hold. Stone followed, his lighter weight making him even faster. They moved from tree to tree, getting closer to the uplink station. The station was a small building with a large antenna on top. The antenna sent signals to the Varathi fleet in orbit, coordinating their weapons. Without it, the ships could not target the colony. They could not bomb the colonists hiding in the tunnels. "How do we get in?" Stone asked. Connor studied the building. "There is an old tunnel. Pre-war construction. The colonists built it before the Varathi arrived." "Where?" 100 meters east. Hidden under the ground. They dropped from the trees and moved toward the tunnel entrance. It was covered in frozen dirt and dead plants, almost invisible unless you knew where to look. Connor brushed away the debris and found a metal hatch. The tunnel was dark and cold. The air was old and thin, but their lungs had been modified to extract oxygen from almost any atmosphere. They moved forward in complete darkness, following the path that led beneath the enemy base above them. The Varathi guards had no idea they were there at the same time. On the other side of the base, Cole and his team approached the command center. The building was 3 stories tall, with windows that glowed with light. Inside, the Varathi commanders were planning their assault on the colony. They did not plan for long. Cole went through the front door. Murphy went through a second-floor window. Garcia disabled the security systems, and the Lights at the same moment. The building went dark dot and then the screaming started. 3 kilometers away, in the tunnels beneath the colony, the human colonists heard nothing. They huddled together in the darkness, waiting. Parents held their children. Old people prayed. Young people tried to be brave. They did not know that help had arrived. They did not know that 6 soldiers were fighting an army to save them. They only knew that they were human. And humans never gave up. Above them, the night filled with fire and shadow. The special forces had arrived, and the Varathi were about to learn why the galaxy dreaded their coming. Commander Kethris had conquered 30 worlds in his career. He had led armies of thousands. He had broken the resistance of species that had fought for centuries. Nothing surprised him anymore until tonight. He was in his command center when the lights went out. His first thought was a power failure. His second thought was that the humans had done something clever. His third thought never came because something hit him in the chest and threw him across the room. He landed hard against the wall. His scales absorbed most of the impact, but he could feel bones cracking beneath him. He tried to reach for his weapon, but his arm would not move. A shape appeared in the darkness. It looked human, but it moved wrong. Too fast, too smooth. Like a predator from a nightmare. Commander Kethras, a voice said. It was cold and flat, without any emotion. Your ground forces are finished. Your command structure is destroyed. You have lost. Impossible, Kethras gasped. I have 4,000 soldiers. You are one human. I am not alone. And your soldiers are dying as we speak. Outside, the base had become a war zone. But it was not a war the Varathi understood. There were no armies fighting in the open. There were no formations of soldiers trading fire. There was only darkness and death. Kate Murphy moved through the barracks like a ghost. Her rifle fired silently, each shot finding its target. Varathi soldiers woke from sleep to find their comrades dead beside them. They grabbed their weapons and ran outside, but Murphy was already gone. She was on the roof now, picking off anyone who showed themselves. Nina Garcia had taken control of the base's computer systems. She turned their own weapons against them. Automated turrets fired on Varathi soldiers. Doors locked, trapping squads in rooms they could not escape. Communications went dead, cutting off each unit from every other. The Varathi could not coordinate. They could not call for help. They could not even understand what was happening. At the orbital uplink station, Connor Bailey and Derek Stone emerged from the tunnel beneath the building. They came up through the floor in the middle of the control room. The technicians inside had no time to react. Stone moved like lightning. His blade was everywhere at once, cutting through weapons, armor, and flesh. The Varathi tried to shoot him, but he was already somewhere else by the time they pulled their triggers. Connor fought with his hands. Each strike was precise and devastating. He hit nerves that paralyzed. He struck joints that shattered. He targeted weak points that no armor could protect. In less than a minute, the control room was silent. We need the bombardment codes, Connor said. Stone was already at the main computer terminal. His fingers danced across the alien keyboard, moving faster than any normal human could. The Varathi encryption was strong, but his modified brain was stronger. Got them, he said. Transmitting to the Relentless now. High above the planet, Captain Grant received the codes on his damaged bridge. Half his crew was wounded. His ship was barely holding together. But when he saw what the special forces had sent him, he smiled. Lieutenant Torres, use these codes to send a feedback pulse to the Varathi fleet. Sir, that will disable their orbital weapons. That is the idea. Torres entered the codes. Across the Varathi fleet, weapons systems suddenly went offline. Error messages filled their screens. Their guns pointed at nothing, unable to fire. The fleet commander screamed at his officers to fix the problem, but there was nothing they could do. The humans had locked them out of their own weapons. Back on the surface, the battle was ending. The Varathi soldiers, who had not been killed, were running. They fled into the crystal forest, throwing down their weapons, no longer caring about orders or duty. They just wanted to get away from the shadows that hunted them. Victor. Cole found Commander Kethris still lying against the wall where he had thrown him. The alien was alive but badly hurt. His scales had turned pale with pain and fear. "What are you?" Kethris whispered. Cole looked down at him with those cold steel eyes. "We are human. We are what your empire should have studied more carefully before you tried to take what was ours. You are monsters. No, we are soldiers. The best soldiers our species has ever made. You came here to enslave 2,000 innocent people. You came here to take children from their parents, to work men and women to death in your mines. You thought we would be easy prey." Cole knelt down so his face was close to the Varathi commander. "We are not prey. We are predators. And tonight, you learned why the galaxy fears us." He stood up and walked away, leaving Kethris alive. The commander would be found by his own people eventually. He would tell them what had happened here. He would spread the message that the special forces wanted everyone to hear. Do not touch humanity. The cost is too high. By dawn, the battle was over. 3,000 Varathi soldiers were dead or captured. Their base was destroyed. Their ships were crippled. Their commander was broken in body and spirit. The colonists emerged from their tunnels into the morning light. They looked around at the smoking ruins of the enemy base, at the scattered bodies, at the destruction that had been caused in a single night. A little girl, no more than 7 years old, saw Connor standing at the edge of the colony. His suit was stained with alien blood. His face was tired but calm. She walked up to him and looked up with curious eyes. "Are you a soldier?" she asked. Connor knelt down so he could look at her at eye level. "Yes, I am. Did you save us?" He looked around at the other operators. Murphy was helping wounded colonists. Stone was repairing damaged equipment. Garcia was restoring communications so the colony could talk to Earth again. Cole stood apart, watching the horizon like he expected more enemies to appear. "We all saved you," Connor said. "All of us together." The little girl smiled and hugged him. Connor did not know what to do at first. It had been a long time since anyone had hugged him. But after a moment, he put his arms around her and held her gently. This was why they fought. This was why they endured the modifications, the training, the missions that seemed impossible. For moments like this, for the people who could not protect themselves, high above, the Varathi fleet began to withdraw. They had come to conquer. Now they left in defeat. Their weapons were broken. Their soldiers were dead. Their pride was shattered. On the bridge of the Relentless, Captain Grant watched them go. His ship was badly damaged. Many of his crew were wounded. But they had won. "Sir," Lieutenant Torres said, "we are receiving a transmission from the surface. Put it through." Victor Cole's face appeared on the screen. His expression was as cold as ever, but there was something in his eyes that might have been satisfaction. "Captain Grant, the colony is secure. Varathi ground forces have been eliminated. Your ship can stand down." "Thank you, Master Sergeant. We could not have done this without you. You held the line until we arrived. That took courage." Cole paused. "You are a good officer, Captain. Your people are lucky to have you." The transmission ended. Grant leaned back in his chair and let out a long breath. He had seen what the special forces could do tonight. He had seen impossible become possible, and he understood now why the galaxy feared them. It was not just because of what they could do. It was because of what they chose to do. They chose to fight when others would run. They chose to protect when others would hide. They were human. And that was the most dangerous thing in the universe. On the surface, the colonists began the long process of rebuilding. The Varathi had damaged many buildings. The fighting had destroyed more. But the people were alive. The children were safe. That was what mattered. And somewhere in the galaxy, other species were already hearing about what had happened at Kepler 442b. 6 human soldiers had defeated an army. 6 shadows in the night had brought an empire to its knees. The message was spreading, and no one who heard it would ever forget. Humanity had called them special forces. The galaxy now understood why. 3 days after the Battle of Kepler 442b, the Galactic Consortium called an emergency meeting. Representatives from 47 species traveled to the Great Assembly Hall, a massive station floating between stars where the galaxy's most important decisions were made. The Varathi representative was named High Commander Vethkarn. He was old and powerful, covered in dark scales that showed his high rank. He had come to demand justice for what the humans had done. This assembly must act, he declared. The humans have used weapons that violate 17 articles of the Civilized Warfare Conventions. Their soldiers are not natural creatures. They have been changed, modified, turned into killing machines. This is an insult to all life in the galaxy. The chamber was filled with murmurs. Many species were curious about what had happened. They had heard stories, but stories were often exaggerated. Surely 6 soldiers could not defeat 4,000, but the evidence was clear. The Varathi had lost 3,000 soldiers in a single night. Their fleet had been crippled. Their commander had been broken. The human representative stood. Her name was Ambassador Linda Davis. She was 60 years old, with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She had been chosen for this job because she could stay calm when everyone else was panicking. The Varathi attacked a civilian colony, she said. Her voice was steady and clear. 2,000 people, including children, were going to be taken as slaves. The Varathi gave our ship 1 hour to surrender. When we refused, they prepared to destroy us. We had every right to claim that world, Vethkarn interrupted. It was in our territory. It was in disputed territory. The consortium had not made a ruling yet. And even if you were right about the territory, that does not give you the right to enslave our people. The chamber went quiet. Slavery was a difficult subject. Many species in the consortium had practiced it in the past. Some still did, but no one liked to talk about it openly. The adjudicator spoke. The adjudicator was an ancient being made of pure energy who had watched over the consortium for thousands of years. When it spoke, everyone listened. The Varathi initiated hostilities. This is clear from the evidence. The humans responded with force. The question before this assembly is whether that force was appropriate. Appropriate? Vethkarn's scales darkened with anger. They sent 6 soldiers against our army. 6 monsters who killed without mercy. This is not warfare. This is something else. Something wrong. Ambassador Davis shook her head. Our soldiers are not monsters. They are volunteers. Every one of them chose to serve. Every one of them accepted the modifications that make them effective. They protect humanity from threats that normal soldiers cannot handle. They are weapons. Living weapons designed for destruction. They are guardians. And they saved 2,000 lives. The adjudicator raised a hand made of light. We have heard the arguments. Now we will hear the facts. Ambassador Davis, the consortium requests full disclosure of your Special Forces program. We need to understand what we are dealing with. Davis was silent for a moment. Then she spoke carefully. I cannot give you full disclosure. Much of our program is classified. What I can tell you is this. Human special forces have existed in various forms for over 500 years. Since before we traveled to the stars, We have had soldiers who were trained and equipped to handle missions that others could not. When we reached the stars, we found a dangerous galaxy, species that wanted to destroy us, empires that wanted to enslave us, threats that could not be stopped by normal means. So we adapted. We changed our soldiers to meet those threats. They are faster than normal humans, stronger. They can survive in environments that would kill anyone else. They can fight for days without rest. They can see in the dark, hear sounds from kilometers away, think faster than computers. But they are still human. They still feel. They still care. They fight not because they want to kill, but because they want to protect. The chamber was silent. Representatives from dozens of species were listening with different expressions. Some were afraid. Some were curious. Some were calculating, wondering how they could get access to similar technology. The adjudicator spoke again. Your soldiers have great power. How do you ensure they do not misuse it? The same way we ensure any soldier does not misuse their power. Training, discipline, honor. Our special forces operators are the most carefully selected people in our military. They go through years of testing before they are accepted. They are watched constantly. They are held to the highest standards. And they only fight when there is no other choice. They are the last resort, not the first. We sent them to Kepler 442b because we had no other option. If we had a fleet nearby, we would have used it. If diplomacy could have worked, we would have tried it. But the Varathi did not give us those choices. They gave us an ultimatum. Surrender or die. And when a human is given that choice, we choose a third option. We fight back. The adjudicator considered this for a long moment. Then it spoke. The consortium rules that the Varathi initiated hostilities. Humanity's response, while unusual, was appropriate to the threat. The Varathi will withdraw all claims to the Kepler 442 system. They will pay compensation to the human colony for damages caused. Vethkarn stood up angrily. This is an outrage. The humans have humiliated the Varathi Empire. They have made us look weak. This cannot stand. Then perhaps, Ambassador Davis said quietly, you should not have attacked our people in the first place. The High Commander's scales went pale with fury. He looked like he wanted to attack her right there in the assembly hall. But he knew better. He had seen what happened to Varathi soldiers who attacked humans. He turned and walked out of the chamber. His attendants followed. The message was clear. The Varathi would not forget this insult, but they would also not challenge humanity again. Not directly. Not ever. 6 months later, Connor Bailey stood on the observation deck of Titan Station. Through the window, he could see Saturn's rings, beautiful bands of ice and rock circling the distant planet. It was peaceful here. Quiet. Colonel Webb joined him at the window. The latest intelligence reports are interesting, she said. The Varathi have pulled back from all disputed territories. The consortium has accepted humanity as a full member. And 17 species have requested information about our Special Forces program. Will we share it? Some of it? The basic concepts. Nothing that would let them replicate what we have done. Webb paused. You saved a lot of lives at Kepler 442b. We did our job. You did more than that. You showed the galaxy what humanity is capable of. You made them afraid. Connor looked out at the stars. There were so many of them. So many worlds, so many species, so many potential threats. And somewhere out there, someone was always planning to hurt the people he protected. Fear is not enough, he said. They need to respect us. They need to understand that we will not be pushed around, but we will not push them around either. We want peace, but we are ready for war. Webb nodded. That is why we exist. Not to conquer, not to destroy, but to show everyone that there is a line they cannot cross. And when they cross it anyway, then we show them what happens next. Connor thought about the little girl who had hugged him on Kepler 442b. He had checked on her since then. Her name was Sophie, and she was doing well. She had nightmares sometimes about the Varathi, but they were getting better. Her parents said she talked about the soldiers who had saved them. She did not know Connor's name. She would probably never know. But somewhere in her mind, she remembered that when monsters came in the night, someone had come to protect her. That was enough. That was always enough. A message came through on the station's communication system. Another emergency. Another colony in danger. Another mission that only they could handle. Connor straightened up. The peaceful moment was over. Time to go back to work. Where? He asked. Outer Rim. Mining colony. Pirates have taken hostages. How many operators? 4 should be enough. You, Murphy, Stone, and Garcia. Connor nodded and headed for the door. Then he stopped and looked back at Webb. Colonel? The little girl from Kepler 442b. Sophie. Can you make sure she gets into a good school? Something with a science program. She said she wants to study the stars. Webb smiled. It was rare to see her smile. I will take care of it. Thank you. He left the observation deck and headed for the hangar. The others were already there, suiting up, preparing for another impossible mission. Some people had asked him once if he ever regretted it. The modifications, the sacrifices, the constant danger. He had thought about the question for a long time before answering. No, he did not regret it, because every time he went out into the darkness, he carried something with him. The memory of the people he had saved. The knowledge that somewhere, children were sleeping safely. Because of what he did, the galaxy called them many things, monsters, weapons, aberrations, but humanity called them special forces. And as long as there were people who needed protecting, they would answer the call. The ship launched into the darkness between stars. Another mission. Another chance to make a difference. The galaxy had learned to dread their arrival, but the people they protected had learned to hope. And that made everything worth it.